means I could leave then.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I won't know what's going on.
All right, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll ask you if you could mute or turn off your phones, please. And we will stand for the invocation and the pledge. Father, thank you for loving us, and thank you for blessing us so far beyond what we deserve. And we pray for those among us who are sick right now, that you give them good health and comfort. And pray for those who are grieving for various reasons. Give them a comfort that only you can give them. And as we handle the business of the town tonight, pray that you give us wisdom and humility, and pray that we will respect one another in all that we do and say. And we ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we welcome you all tonight, and first public comment period is matters that do and do not appear on the agenda. We offer this time for you to speak. We give you 3 minutes to do so, and this is your time to speak. It's not a back and forth, but we're happy to answer any questions after the meeting is over. So if you have questions, you come to us after the meeting. But for now, the 3 minutes is your time. Please state your name and address and give a form to our clerk for her records.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey. I'll come before you this day as a citizen of Tyrone, and I was wondering if you guys would consider thinking about creating a position, a new position in the town for a marketing director or public information officer. Where if you would consider it for the next budget. I know this budget is being approved this meeting, but in the future, many of our surrounding towns have this position, and they use it to put on a lot of events. And I know that we do a lot of events in the town, and we have great events. And this position can be shared amongst various departments, such as the DDA, such as PD, Public Works, the town. And I think that would take the burden off of existing staff, but at the same time, it will also open up a whole new opportunity for us to get people coming to our town so that they can spend their money and we can receive those revenues. Thank you.
And would you mind stating your name and address for the record? Sorry.
I'm Dia Hunter. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone about anything? Within reason, of course.
Hi.
Hi.
Joe, my name is Edward Ray. I live at 143 Castlewood Road. And about a month ago, I came home, and I noticed that there was a dog out in the yard next door. It was a rental place. And the dog was out in the day and night, in the rain, cold, and everything else, with no water, chained to a fence and it had a five-foot rope to it, right? And I said, well, what can I do about this? It's inhumane to have that dog there like that. So I decided I was going to call the animal control people. I called the animal control people, and they told me, you know, there's nothing we can really do except cite the person. And if they don't listen to what we say, we can cite them again. And I thought, boy, that's going to put the fear of God into them, you know. And then I thought, you know, I watch commercials on TV, ASCP. I think that's what the acronym they use about these dogs, you know, how they're abused and everything. And they're always asking for money. So I thought, look, if that's all you can do, then I'm not going to donate to these people or Humane Society or anything like that anymore. Then I called a realtor who owns the place to tell them that these people that are living there that are abusing these dogs. And they told me, well, they didn't rent that place out, that these people are squatters. So then I thought about squatters, and I came down to the police department and I asked them about it. And they told me that, well, these people paid somebody $6,000 and they're not really squatters. Then I thought about that and I said, well, that should be easy for a common person to figure out whether they're squatters or not. I mean, you can check the person who's supposed to have the real estate, who's renting the place. Then you can check the money, follow the money where it goes. Then you can check whose utilities on there and find out whether or not they're living there legally or illegally. Well, I don't think they're living there legally, okay? They had 3 pit bulldogs out in the cold and tethered to a string also. And I thought, you know, there's something that you ought to be able to do about that. And the police told me, no, there's nothing, you have to take them to court. I said, take them to court. And it might take a long time, you know, if you take them to court. And then I thought about, well, you have these other mayors that are out there, and they say this is a sanctuary city, which it would be illegal. My time's up.
Yes, sir. Just wrap up. I'm not going to cut you off.
Well, then I thought, well, these mayors who say, well, this is a sanctuary city, and then what they do is they just make up their own laws, and they do whatever the heck they want to, even though it's not conducive to the citizens, law-abiding citizens, where the criminals have more rights than the law-abiding citizens, right? So if they can do that, I'm saying that as elected officials who represent us, that you guys need to just either take your grievances to Kemp and tell him that you need to change the law and get the law changed, or just say, I'm the mayor and this is what I'm going to do, and that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. You're the first person that's ever told me that. And we did just pass a tethering ordinance, just FYI.
My name's Bob Boshenstein. I live at 180 Ashland Trail. I'm here about the squatters too. It's only 3 houses from your house, Mayor. They've been there probably for a couple months. I noticed the dogs barking in the middle of the night all the time, and then, you know, neighbor's dog starts barking and everything else. I've called the police department probably half a dozen times. I've called the Humane Society. They've come over. I have pictures in my phone that I showed the policemen and stuff. There was 3 pit bulls there. Now there's only 2. There's one buried in the corner by my property that you can tell there's a grave, and the policeman said he went over there and they told him that the gas company dug that. Well, why would the gas company be digging, you know, 500 feet or 1,000 feet away from the street? So there's a grave there. And then last week when it was real hot, I could smell the animal there, and you can see that it's pretty good size, and there's only 2 dogs behind the house now, all right? And I got pictures today. I was at Ed's house. He lives right next door. I took pictures. There's one dog tethered up, a white one, and there's a brown white one behind there, and then there was another younger white one that I have pictures of it choking itself, and that's the one that's probably buried in the corner over there. But, you know, who would have thought this would ever happen in our city of Tyrone? But it's happening now. And you folks need to know about it so you can do something about it. You know, you need to pass some laws, and the laws that are in effect, you need to make sure that they're upheld, you know. There's just a lot of laws, a lot of things that are happening, you know. I just talked to the chief of police. He didn't even know that a rapper moved in down on Ashland Trail, and he had a party there Friday and Saturday of this weekend. He had probably, there was probably 50, 60 cars there, and they parked down the street around in the new subdivision and had somebody chauffeuring the people back and forth. You know, Friday night at 9 o'clock, I could hear every word he said. I live 4 houses away, and so I called the police and had them come, and they quieted down. And then Saturday, you know, they had a party again, but at 8 o'clock they quit. So, you know, but I mean, you people need to know who's moving into Tyrone and what's going on. Because, I mean, this guy had a big commercial bathroom there. I mean, you know, had people chauffeuring him around. I mean, he was very organized. You know, how many times is this guy gonna do this? You know, did he get a permit for it? You know, somebody needs to go pay him a visit. This guy has done a lot of or a lot of improvements in there too. Did he get permits for all that? But, you know, you need to know what's going on in Tyrone, you know. People need to drive around. You know, I haven't seen a police car in my subdivision in weeks, night or day or whatever, and I'm outside a lot. And I haven't seen, you know, patrol like they used to. I mean, we need, you know, it needs to be patrolled. You need to know what's going on. Instead of sitting behind the desk all the time and not taking a ride around to see what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Sandy, do you want to make a short presentation, or would you like for us to just move into the consideration of the budget?
Yes, sir. I'm going to just real fast. We had, back on May 18th, we had a budget workshop where we discussed the budget with council. On June 1st, which was our last council meeting, we had a public hearing, which was required by law on the proposed budget. We've not made any changes since the public hearing, and so it stands before you today. Staff recommends the approval of the fiscal year 2023-2024 that begins July 1st of 2023. The general fund budget of $17,566,991.38, as well as the budget of $6,086,142.40 for all the other miscellaneous funds.
Okay. Are there any questions? Motion.
I make a motion that we adopt the fiscal year 2023/2024 town budget as written.
I'll second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the budget is passed. Item number 5, Mr. Langford.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm asking you tonight for the consideration to approve change order number 2 to the 2022 Dorothea Red Wine Phase 1 Pickleball Courts, project number PW2022-12. The construction started, as you know, on this project, and the contractor encountered an unforeseen condition of a large amount of concrete below the ball field surfaces. And the town approved change order number 1 on April 6, 2023, to remove the concrete and soil to a new elevation. After that was done, there was some additional unsuitable soil that was encountered that required more removal and additional fill. The cost of that additional work totaled $17,094.91. Funding for this change order will come out of the 2017 SPLOST, and staff is recommending approval of the 2022 Dorothea Red Wine Phase 1 Pickleball Courts change order number 2 for $17,094.91.
Okay. Are there any questions about this project? Order.
As far as you can see, do we foresee, or can you anticipate any further issues like that?
No, they've actually come out of the ground with it now. And that's one of the reasons we kind of moved forward with this, because we have to get out of that ground with all the rain we've been having. We finally got some dry weather, and so we made efforts to get it up out of the ground so we can actually start finishing the project. They have the base in for the court. They're ready to pave it. They're hopefully going to start paving tomorrow, weather permitting. And I hope they do, because next week is supposed to be all rain from what I'm seeing.
Now, from what I understand, we're putting in the base for the lounge area, for lack of a better word, where, you know, where there's gonna eventually be a canopy to cover.
Yes, they'll be
That-
grading that out. They'll be putting a concrete
So
walkway.
that's part of
That's
this phase too,
all
right?
part of phase one. Right, not the actual structure, but all the concrete work associated with it.
It looks good. I was down there today and taking a look at it.
Why was the soil not good? I'm just a girl, I don't understand.
Why was the soil unsuitable?
Yes.
The, basically, because of the conditions out there and all the rain we had after we excavated, it stayed wet for a long period of time. And as that soil collects water, that sandy clay soil starts collecting water, it starts becoming basically soft. Some areas got very, very soft, which when those kind of things happen, the soil starts becoming more what they call plastic. And which means it has a higher plasticity index, which means it's more susceptible to shrink and swell with moisture. That shrink and swell can cause movements in your base material and cause cracking in the asphalt and stuff. So if you don't remove that, you take the chance that you might have issues in the future with it failing quicker.
Okay,
Does that
great.
help?
Thank you, yes.
I hope I didn't get too technical there.
No, you did.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the change order number 2 for the $17,094.91 for the Red Wine Park pickleball courts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Next change order.
Okay, this consideration is to approve change order number 1 for project number PW 2023-01, which is the 2023 roadway resurfacing project that was awarded to Piedmont Paving Incorporated. This year's asphalt resurfacing project was bid to resurface, as you know, several roads in the town, which they performed most of that work. But as part of that work, there was some striping that was associated with the project. Back in earlier this year, February, March timeframe, I came to you with IGA from the county to do crack sealing on Crestwood Road from Sonoya Road all the way to where it intersects with McDade. And after we did that, the purpose of that was to get it to that down first so that we could come back and restripe it. Well, since this contractor had striping already in his bid, we were looking at trying to add the Crestwood Road under those line items of the bid as a change order to have that striping done. That, basically that work would include the double yellow center line, white edge strips, 5 stop bars, and what they call RPMs, reflective pavement markers. Some people call them raised pavement markers. And that total portion was $19,450.20, which was within our budget for what we had budgeted for paving, for striping that area. During construction, though, we also had an issue with a couple of the roads where we had some unsuitable soil, and particularly at the end of the cul-de-sac on Northwood Road. There was a drainage pipe that was underneath that road. The bottom of it had corroded, and so water just continuously sat in that area, and that soil was very saturated. So they removed the saturated soil and backfilled it with number 57 stone. It was about 100 tons of stone that went in, and that price was $6,500. We also needed to add 3 tons of type 3 riprap to do some protection along one of the head walls. Where the head wall came out, it was kind of a steep slope on the side of the person's driveway coming into the ditch. So we ended up, it's still within the right of way. We ended up adding the 3 tons of that, which was another 950. So originally we started taking the riprap and the backfill material for the soil out of our allowance. But since we're talking about adding this change order, it goes beyond what our allowance is, our special allowance is for the project. So I wanted to bring it back to you and wrap it all up neatly into one change order so it looks, you know, to me, it's better to put it all in one change order because it's easier to follow in the future what happened with the project, where the money was spent. So anyway, the total sum was $26,900.20 is what I'm asking for tonight as change order number one. And this would be out of our general funds, and there's money in the budget for this to cover it because the bid was within our budget before. So the staff recommends approval to change order one for project 2023-01, which is the 2023 asphalt or roadway resurfacing project to Piedmont Incorporated for a total sum of $26,900.20.
These are two different locations though, right? It's the north,
Yes, north, Crestwood is the striping.
right, and we doing
And-
East Crestwood and,
No, just Crestwood from Sonoya Road to McDade,
well, that's it.
right? Right there at Ms. Pyron's house, starting there.
Yeah, I
and
know
going-
where you're referring to.
Right.
Okay.
It's about 0.63 miles. So it's a pretty decent amount of striping.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve change order one for project PW 202301, the 2023 roadway resurfacing project to Piedmont Paving Incorporated, in the amount of $26,900.23. 20 cents.
All right. Sum that up. It was a change order 2023-01, Piedmont Paving, sum of $26,900.20. Is there a second?
I second that.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council.
All right. Next agenda item is Resolution 2023-07 for the purchase of 969 Sonora Road in the amount of $340,000. Dennis, are you going to present this, Philip?
I'd be happy to just to give you a quick summary of what this is about. You've entered into a purchase and sale agreement with the property at 969 Sonoya Road. And as part of the closing transaction, the closing attorney requested a resolution from the town signifying the town's authorization to make this purchase. So this resolution is before you this evening for your consideration. If approved, it'll be presented to the closing attorney so that they can check off on their list of the documents they need to effect this closing.
Are there any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2023-07 for the purchase of 969 Sonoya Road in the amount of $340,000.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next item is plans for project number PW 2023-02. Scott?
So this consideration is to approve the plans for this project, this Sonoya Road, Spencer Road multi-use path. Basically, the way this thing runs, this thing has a lot of reverb. On Sonoya Road, where you get to the overpass, as you're going under the overpass, there's the off-ramp of the southbound 74. Okay, that basically borderlines a single piece of property with a wire fence that delineates the GDOT right-of-way and the property owner's right-of-way. This is a single property owner that we're dealing with. And this path will make a connection from down there off of Sonoya Road. It'll come up and run along that fence line on the private property because GDOT doesn't allow it in their right-of-way. On the private property, it'll go all the way up to where Swanson Road used to be a long time ago. And it's now the end of Spencer where it makes that 90-degree turn and goes into the public shopping area, the Southampton area. So it'll come up and turn down the dirt section of that until it comes to that intersection, and then the car path will go we'll share the road into the Publix parking lot. This basically will create a path for anybody who's coming from the Hanley Road side, and when the Tyrone cart path, which bids, by the way, on the 20th of this month, when that project comes through and is completed, it will tie that whole area down into the ability to get to Publix without going across 54 or 74, excuse me. So with that in mind, the design is 90% complete on the project, so we're ready to start land acquisition. We're very comfortable with the layout. It's a 14-foot path and a 20-foot right-of-way, or excuse me, easement. Sorry, give me 1 second. Verify something. Actually, I think we're going for fee simple here, are we not?
Yes, that
Yes,
is correct.
that's what I
We're-
thought. I'm
we
sorry.
would
So
be
it is-
acquiring fee simple right away.
Right, so it will be fee simple right of way. We have we've discussed this with the one property owner, and they are definitely willing to work with us on this. They're interested in doing this. This total land acquisition is approximately 0.8 acres. And by giving approval to these plans, this will give staff the ability to move forward with legal counsel to work on land acquisition. And then from there, we'll be able to move into bid. So we're kind of asking your approval to approve the plans and to also give us the ability to move forward into land acquisition if you all are ready to do that. So our recommendation is once again for y'all to hopefully approve that so we can move forward with the project.
So with the completion of this project, that would also give the students from Southampton a viable way to get by golf cart to get to Sandy Creek High School.
Eventually, that's true.
Yeah.
And when we do the path that goes up from the end of Sonoya Road and Powers Way in that area.
Right. But it'd be a
we
good
get
start.
that ability to cross CSX on that spur line.
And
It
then-
happens to be the same property owner as this property owner that we're dealing with right now on this piece of property. It'll get us over into that area. We can tie into Sandy Creek High School in that area.
Good deal.
All part of our big giant connection plan.
If you get approval, since land acquisition is not a monumental task in this situation, what's your target date for turning over dirt? I know you're smiling because you know I always ask you
Yes,
that question.
You always ask me a question that's extremely difficult to answer because there's so many variables involved. But as soon as this is done with the land acquisition, and once again, that depends on, how long it takes to draft all the documents, because this is giving us the approval and we have it drawn out, but they still have to go back and do the plat. They still have to go back and do all the legal descriptions and all those kind of things. So with that in mind, let's say that takes a month or two to do, then you have the actual paperwork of the contract or the deed to transfer it to us. So, that has to go through a process. So that's at least another month there, maybe two, depending on the workload of, of the legal staff. And then from there, it'll take a month to advertise and bid. And then it will take a month basically to award and get all that paperwork straight and approvals and back to council for approval. At that point, the contractor has roughly a little less than a month, about 23 days to actually start the construction. So you're several months out. You're 5-6 months before you probably could start.
Can we get it down before the weather gets too cold?
We're going to be pushing it. This area is a little more conducive to a better opportunity to move dirt, even though we're getting into the wetter season, which I'm assuming is where you're coming with this question.
I pushed you far enough.
No.
You're good.
I'm saying if we can get the stuff and if it moves a little faster, then we have a much better chance of getting out of the dirt with it. But I mean, the majority of this is some grading along the path and then bringing in material and then paving on top of that. But we also have one of the crossings that we're going to be doing in the streetscaping throughout downtown. We're doing one of those crossings there at Sonoya Road. So basically it'll have a rapid flashing beacon So when you get up there, you can push the button, it'll flash, and then the pedestrians can walk across it. Actually, golf carts aren't supposed to use that. It's just for bikes and pedestrians. But anyway, the process of that is basically concrete bar that goes across, lack of a better word, beams that go across. And then brick pavers go in between it. So it's a brick crosswalk. And that's kind of the look that we're bringing into downtown.
That brings up a point, oh, excuse me. That brings up a point. I mean, I assume you're doing something very similar on the Far Road, Tyrone Road intersection there, you know, for the new golf cart path or multi-use path, pardon
Right,
me.
there is a crossover over.
Okay, now you made a point to say that golf carts should not, or, you know, technically should not use that. Or we know that golf carts are going to use those.
Okay, let me make that clear. It's not use the crossing, it's use the rapid flashing beacon symbol. It's like pushing the button that you know, brings on the little light that counts down. When you push this button, it flashes at the signs and tells you pedestrians are going to cross. And the reason for that, is my understanding, is that people and bicycles have right-of-way above cars. Golf carts do not. Saying that
Golf carts need to yield to traffic, traffic needs to yield to pedestrians. So this is a challenge that, you know, a couple of communities face because the golf carts are pretty prolific, not just here in Fayette County because of Peachtree City, but in other areas. Conyers has this as well. Really and truly, what it comes down to is when we install those rapid flashing beacon signals, there's going to be a sign that says for pedestrian use only, golf carts yield to traffic. We give notification, we give signage, but it's one of those things where we're going to have to work on the regulatory aspect of it. Lots of cities have a little bit of this conflict. Most users respect that and they yield to traffic if they're on a golf cart and they use that, you know, accordingly and appropriately. But there may be a conflict. The solution, though, is difficult to obtain because we need to be able to preserve pedestrian safety. So we have to have these rapid flashing beacons. There's not really an option to remove them. We have to have them with instructions that are, you know, given to all users.
That stretch between Tyrone Palmetto Road and the bridge is not a well-lit stretch. And now we're talking about pedestrians and carts and that kind of thing. Are we going to improve our lighting?
Yeah, at every crosswalk, there will be additional street lighting at that location for better visibility.
No, please finish.
I was going to say, Mr. Mayor, in regards to the timing question, it will be much faster than Tyrone Road because we have one property owner instead of 6. So I can tell you that assuredly.
If it isn't faster than Tyrone Road, let's not do it.
One property
I'm concerned with that because with the truck traffic on Sonoya Road coming down and the multitude of trucks that drive every day and the safety of all the students crossing that, because it's going to be primarily used by golf cart people. As we know, they've been complaining for years with the Tyrone one. I'm just concerned for their safety, and I just hope that, you know, this works in their favor.
Yeah, even if a golf cart user mistakenly presses the button, it's still going to be a safe interaction because the rapid flashing beacons will light. There are stop bars in the road where the traffic has to stop. And so, yes, a car will yield to a golf cart in that circumstance because they're going to see the flashing lights, the golf cart's going to go. That they would not, the golf cart user was not supposed to do that, but it will be a safe interaction.
All right.
We can have a sign that says not to use it if you're on a golf
Yes,
cart.
we will have a
It'll say
sign.
only
that says-
for pedestrians.
I have a question. When you're coming down the ramp, there's a lot of trees. So are those trees on the state right-of-way, or will they be in between the cart path
You're
and
talking right at the intersection, you're talking about the whole
all
length of
the
the
way
property?
down?
Right, so any trees that are in that area between the little wire fence that's up there and 20 feet in will be removed. The thing is, most of those trees are actually on GDOT's right of way. They're on the other side of the fence. So it's not going to be like tearing down all the trees along there, but there will be some tree removal along it, definitely.
I know you can't give us an exact amount, but is there any estimation of what this is, the Sonoya Road to Publix is gonna cost us? I mean, just any kind of.
Yes.
Just a ballpark figure.
I want to say it was somewhere between 400 to 500,000, but I can get you a better number. We do.
Have an
I
idea.
believe that's where it's at.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, sir. I didn't mean to put you through the ringer there. It's just,
No, that's what I'm here for,
we
trying to
get
answer your
that question.
questions.
We get those questions a lot, and they're important.
Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions for Scott? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the plans for project number PW 2023-02, Sonoya Road, Spencer Road, multi-use path.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
Thank you.
thank you, bud.
Thank you.
All right, our second public comment period is also for matters that either do or do not appear on the agenda. So we welcome you forward this time. Same rules apply, please. State your name and address.
Property y'all acquired, I look forward in y'all's plan. I was just wondering what Tyrone's plans were with the 969 Sonoy Road.
I'll be happy to talk to you after the meeting about it. Does that work? What's that? Anybody that wants to, I'll talk to them. Anyone else? Okay. Are there any staff comments? Yes.
I just wanted to, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to follow up on what Mr. Boshenstein told you about.
Okay.
So Lieutenant Nelson responded to that particular residence, and what we learned was, can you not hear me?
There you go.
The current tenants that are in there actually lease the house fictitiously from fraudulent leasers. Once they were in there and established residency, and the property owners or property management company found out, they refused to leave. So it is my understanding they are now in the eviction process. I wanted y'all to know about that. The second thing with regards to the party on Ashland Friday night, Sergeant West responded to that. When he arrived there, they had already turned the music down. There was no further problems after that. Vehicles parked in the roadway were parked
Legally.
legally.
Okay.
And Ms. Baker pointed out earlier, no permit required for that.
For a party.
That's correct.
Okay, the first item, what is that, what's the time frame if you know of an eviction process?
Well,
It's
normally
not
30 to
us, but
45 days,
30.
but if it becomes contested in court, it could go until there's a disposition.
Okay,
Out of our hands, but, that's the process we are told that they are in now.
all right, let me ask you a question from me. I'm hearing the word squatter and the word Tyrone for the first time probably that I've been serving. And I've heard it more than once now in the last 2 weeks. How can we be on the lookout for a squatter? How do we know if somebody's a squatter or not?
So you won't be able to look from the outside and tell if that's a legitimate resident or if that's a squatter. It's up to the property owners to watch their property. Once somebody gets in there and turns on the utilities, gets the water cut on, starts cutting the grass, they've established residency. And it's too late then. So yeah, you need to watch your property. If it's sitting empty, you need to watch those lock boxes. You as a resident or an elected official, you're not going to be able to look and tell.
So it takes some type of illegal activity for them to be, or the property owner, for them to be discovered.
Well,
Such as,
usually-
such as the situation with the dogs.
They're usually, well, these folks were discovered by the property owners eventually.
Right.
They're like, hey, what are you doing in this house? Well, we leased this property. No, you didn't.
Okay.
So, yeah. Now, the illegal activity, that doesn't determine if they're legal residents or not, if they're squatting or not. That
Okay.
just tells you that they've done something illegal. But, yeah, it's really up to the property owners. And I think our honorable counsel would probably agree with that as well.
Okay.
Regarding what the gentleman said about the dogs, we just passed an ordinance a little while ago about
March,
dogs.
Tethering.
Yes, about tethering. And so, so was he doing the right thing by calling the SPCA, or does he
Oh, yeah.
call the police?
Well, no, he could call either, because if he calls us first, we're gonna call animal control
Okay.
next. So the way the ordinance is, just a basic breakdown, you can't tether an animal to any fixed object. You can tether them to a trolley cable for up to 4 hours, but not between the hours of 10 and 6 at night. So if you see something like that, you call us and we'll come out.
And if they say what they said to him of, all we can do is cite them, and then, you know, it may be another 30 days before we can cite them again. Is there any way around that? Is there anything that we can do?
I don't know that I agree with whoever told him that.
Right.
I would be back out there the next day or the next couple hours if I had to, and say, hey, this animal can't be tethered. And I would imagine that we could make a phone call to animal control, even if we spoke to the director, and probably get quicker action than that.
Okay, Counselor, we partnered with the county on this tethering ordinance. Is there anything that you can shed light on that we're not picking up on that gives us a little bit more teeth in this tethering ordinance?
I think what Chief's saying is absolutely on point. The fact that citation issues isn't in and of itself a stopping point. It's just a process. If the violation is between, you can't have the animal tethered between 10 and 6, and the citation issues at 11, you can go back at 12 and issue another citation. You can go back the next day, issue another citation. I've had cases before where I would issue multiple citations because I've got an uncooperative owner of an animal, and the judge, when it finally gets in front of the judge, really brings the hammer down because of all the multiple citations. That shows intent by the owner to disregard the law, and the judge doesn't look at that very kindly.
And I would add to that I've seen them seize the animal as well.
I would say, how long do they keep going until the animal is protected?
Right, absolutely, I agree. And that's, again, that's a judicial process. It would be up to.
There would also be a judgment call from animal control director if and when they get involved in the process because it's going on for a length of time. Then it becomes a cruelty to animal issue with respect to endangering the safety and well-being of the animal itself. You get to that point, and then they have the opportunity to seize the animal.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
So we encourage our citizens to call the police.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, Sandy?
I just wanted you to be aware that we have had a problem with a tax issue with ADP for 3 years, and we have struggled and struggled to get ADP to help us. And I want to give kudos to Bridget Smith because she has worked on this for 3 years, and the other day, through her actions, not ADP's, was able to get the Department of Revenue, Georgia Department of Revenue, to waive the fees, and she saved us $8,300. The fee started out as $40, but ADP just kept letting it go, and it kept increasing costs. And so luckily, we were able to save $8,300, really for ADP, because we were telling ADP it was their problem, it was their fault, they should have paid it, but.
Is that the one that came to my house? The
What
bill? Said that I owed $8,300?
Yes, it was that bill.
You laugh. Any other staff comments? Either Philip or Scott, can you tell us what Devin just completed, whichever one of you is closer to that, because I want to make sure council knows of that big job she just took on.
East Group?
No, I think the report,
the report.
the annual report. I can speak to a little, Scott, if you want to, if you have any additional information. So, yes, we have to, annually, EPD requires any local issuing authority, whoever has that power, which we do as a town, to prepare an annual report. It's the equivalent of me doing us doing a comprehensive plan, but it has to be done every year, and it's the environmental version of that. It requires an incredible amount of time, detail, and Devin is very detail-oriented. She has done an excellent job preparing that, putting that together, submitting it to EPD for approval. It goes to them for review, for approval, comes back if they determine that comments or revisions need to be made, and then we send it back up to them. But it's a very large project that takes months to complete. And it's one of the big things that we have to do every single year, and she did an excellent job with it. And Scott, if you have any other comments on it.
That's absolutely right. And one of the other things about this particular year is that I think it's 5 years, they make modifications that you have to then change the wording and stuff of how your documents pertain to these or meet these needs. So this year was even a tougher year because that took even more time because there was a pretty significant number of changes. And she did a stellar job on it.
Well, I just wanted council to know that she got past that big finish line, and please let her know that we appreciate her work.
Certainly.
She's very quiet. We sometimes don't see her work, but we want her to know we appreciate it. Any other staff comments? Council comments?
Yes, I do. There's been some questions about the post office, and I know that's federal, not us, but is there any representative, senator that we could talk to, not just the town, but the citizens, that might help?
I actually had another conversation today, I'm glad you asked, with the congressman's office, but I have to search my email real quick to go find that response. So we notified the town, and a lot of people knew of it back on May 9th. And we said at that time that the landlord was to have the completion of the building in 2 to 3 weeks. That means on the far end, that means May 30th, the building should have been inhabitable. Now, for my bird's eye view, I see nothing going on over there, but we have no control over that. The next sentence of this was, when the landlord repairs are completed, a facility renovation assessment checklist will be scheduled to determine if the facility is safe for occupancy. If the FRAC, that's what the acronym for that, if that passes a final beneficial occupancy, that's an FBO letter. If the FRAC passes, an FBO letter will be issued to district leadership, that's Postal Service leadership, stating that the facility is safe to reoccupy. At that time, it'll be up to the district to determine when the post office will resume normal operations. So from this email, all we know is that the building was to have been inhabitable, and that they would then go through this FRAC process. But we don't know how long the FRAC process is, nor do we know if the building is inhabitable like they said it would be. That's all we can say is, and I asked, can we get them, the Postal Service, to communicate with us? I haven't heard from anybody at the Postal Service, and I don't think anybody here has. And I went down to the Peachtree City Post Office today and to pick up my mail, and they don't know anything. I'm sorry that that's the answer, but that's the answer. So don't let the May 9th, 2 to 3 weeks make people think that it'll reopen on May 30th. That wasn't what that meant. And we just don't know. I'm sorry. Any other council comments? Oh, you did ask one other question. You said, is there anybody we can contact? We're already contacting the congressman's office. They've done what they can do. They've spoken with their legislative liaison. So calls to them are not, I mean, you can call them, but they're not necessarily any more productive than what's already been done. It's a matter of communicating with the U.S. Postal Service, and I don't know how effective that would be.
Did we get in touch with the owner?
I don't know who the owner is. I thought it was somebody in another state.
The address is online,
Call them.
property tax.
Sure. Yes. So, well, I don't mind doing that. I'll just,
We can send a certified letter to the owner, just inquiring as to the nature of, the building, where they're at personally, and inviting them to a discussion.
are you volunteering to write that?
Can
letter?
absolutely do
All
that.
right.
Yes, sir.
You write it, I'll sign it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Philip.
And so I wish we could give a better report than that to the public. That's.
At least we'll be doing something.
All right, any other council comments? Is there a need for executive session, sir? Okay. If anybody that wants to know about the property across the street, you can come forward as soon as we adjourn, and I'll be happy to talk to you, or we would, anybody that wants to. Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. And Mr. Ray, if you're not, if you didn't get enough